So is a word? I don't know. John Radigan here. We're thrilled to have Abby back with us. Abby Jones in for Jeff today. Abs, great to have you. And you brought the team. Good luck today. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. We're happy to have you along too. Man, that one was too close for comfort, Abs. And you know this as well as I do. We shouldn't be like celebrating with a banner headline that the Rangers win one in Chicago. But you know what? Yeah, but you know what? That's what we're reduced to at this point. So what the heck? Let's celebrate it.
Heck yeah. No, it's important. This game would have been telling if the Rangers would have lost it. Believe it or not, Rads, the White Sox actually have a better record in May than the Rangers do. The White Sox.
Oh yeah, but at least it's early in May. Oh no,
early,
no, it's not.
early.
Yeah.
But you
you
didn't want to get swept by this team. This would be their first, the first sweep of this season, and
Right.
their second since May of last year. So that's just not a list that you want to be a part of. The Rangers looked and avoided losing their 7th in a row for the first time. But the good news is Bruce Bochy has been here before in this exact moment. And guess when it was? It was 2023. The Rangers actually lost 8 in a row in late August. If you remember that stint.
I do.
They went on to win the World Series. So Bruce Bochy said today during the pregame show, every bad team goes through stints like this, and the Rangers are just going through a bad stint. I know we're going to talk about all the roster moves and the injuries and everything, but yeah, this one, the Rangers needed.
They absolutely did. We'll start this thing with some highlights and some initial thoughts, some impressions of this game, and talk a little bit more about this abysmal road trip. But then we do get to, as Ab mentioned, some mixed news about the roster and what happened there today. We'll preview the upcoming homestand, and we will do a cleanup segment for you today, too. That's all coming up a little later in the show. But, I had written, Abs, as you saw in our we call it our Notion, our little format that's online. And it hadn't been sent out to the people yet, but it was there. And I said, so this is rock bottom. Because it just didn't feel in the 7th or 8th inning when I wrote that, especially that 8th inning. I was so disappointed in that 8th inning when there's a ground out, in the lead up. You got 1, 2, and 3. You got Sam Haggerty, and you thought it was Smitty, but they pinch hit with Heim, which wasn't a bad idea against the lefty. And then Wyatt, and you're thinking, okay, here we go. This is a way to get this 1-run game. And they go, ground out to short, strikeout. And I'm thinking, all right, this is it. They're not going to win. This is rock bottom. And thankfully, as I ultimately wrote, they were on the mat. They were down. They're not out. They came back to win it. In some ways, really strange to say against a team as bad as the White Sox, Abs, but in some ways, it's the best win of the season.
I feel like the Rangers had a similar win in Chicago like this last year. Jankowski robbed that home run for Andrew Chafin.
Yeah.
And were they going to get swept then too?
No. That time, that actually ensured the opposite.
Okay.
They were able to sweep. That said, you're not supposed to lose to this team, especially at that point in the season when they had mailed it in. This time, look, the reality is the White Sox are not only better, they're playing better, evidenced by the fact that this is a fairly low bar, but evidenced by the fact that they do have a better record than the Rangers in the month of May.
Yeah, and it would have been salt to the wound even more. The White Sox, have 18 blown leads. So that would have been, the 9th inning got exciting, and then for a minute, late 9th, I'm sure we're going to get into the closer situation. You think, gosh, if this goes back and forth and the Rangers lose this, yes, you take every opponent in Major League Baseball serious because they are a Major League Baseball team. But when you have the record in Major League Baseball for the most blown leads, which is 18, again, that's just more salt to the wound. So the Rangers were able to get it done. And the Rangers, I'm interested to see how the guys feel about this homestand. Is it just pack it and move on? And, they've got Toronto and St. Louis next. So they're at home, going to get in the groove of things. But this homestand, the road trip was just bad.
Yeah, it was 1-5. They got swept by the Yankees. Close games. They didn't score enough, and it was terrible weather in New York, and then of course terrible for the first, at least cold for the first 2 days in Chicago. They've played more cold weather games this year than in any other year they've ever been in existence in Texas. So it hasn't been pleasant. That said, it's not pleasant for either team. But yes, I think that the homestand has to just be put this all behind you, and that's classic Bruce Bochy, right? Every manager's got a phrase for that: wash it off, or forget about it, or flush it, or whatever those are. Those all need to be flushed. The wins like today, but more importantly, the losses like the first 5 on this road trip. It was not a good road trip. One of the worst of the season, especially since you were nearly swept by the Chicago White Sox. But there were some moments in this game, some real highlights. And of course, we're going to get to the call-up of Alejandro Osuna a little later on in the program. And that was a highlight in many ways. He didn't have that storybook moment that Dave Raymond was calling for when he came up with a chance in the 9th inning, but he did have a really good debut in a couple of different ways. We talk about that in a minute, but first, the other big highlight of the game, Abs, is the return to Chicago of Jake Burger. Gets the 2-run bomb, gets the double in the 9th inning, and that was just both huge. The game-tying double gave him a 2-run lead in the first. Fantastic game by Jake Burger against the team for which in which he started his major league career.
Yeah, even the White Sox were cheering for Jake Burger. Did you know that was the hardest hit baseball by a Ranger this season?
Yeah, the home run. Yeah.
Off the bat. Yeah, Jake Burger's got some power. I mean, that's why the Rangers signed him. So it's good to see some life in this offense because, like we said, the homestand, pretty tragic, but they were outscored 24-11 during that time. So there needs to be offensive plugs somewhere. I know we're going to talk about Osuna, but that's, they're kind of calling him maybe that spark plug that the Rangers need to get this offense to click. Jake Burger did it all today. And Adolis Garcia, no doubt about that. But yeah, Jake Burger, I'm sure it's special to be back in a place that's really familiar to you. And it was nice that the White Sox fans were cheering for him too.
It is. And, the reality is sometimes, when you give to the world gives back. And on the first day in town in Chicago, Jake and wife Ashlyn went over to visit one of the foundations in Chicago that helps with those who have Down syndrome. Of course, the Burgers have their own foundation for that too through Penelope. But I do believe their willingness and their just joy in helping that organization, certainly, right? You give to the world gives back. It gave back to Jake today. Look, Jake has given back to this team ever since he's been back from AAA. That stint in AAA seemed to have corrected him. And as Jeff and I were saying on the show earlier this week, it's too bad you can't send them all down to AAA, right? Let them all go. The veterans, they can't go there, because they're out of options and all those other things. But it would be awesome if everybody could have a reset, as Jake Burger did. He was a hero in this game. But I think, to your point, it's very well taken about Adolis Garcia coming through in that 9th inning, right? I'm thinking, wow, okay, we got a chance here, but we're at the bottom of the order. And then you go, oh, wait, it's Adolis Garcia and Marcus Semien at the bottom of the order. We know that Adolis loves that situation. He proved it again. He thought it was out. He thought that he didn't do the huge celebration like he might do, but he thought it was out. Now, thank goodness he didn't dog it either. That's not in his nature or in something that Bruce Bochy would allow. But anyway, he came through in a big way. And that is, Boch said it when he announced the other day that he would be batting 8th and that Simi would be batting 9th. He said, look, there are big opportunities in every spot in the batting order. And today is proof of that. Yeah. And in that big situation, here came Adolis Garcia, and he took advantage. And the moment was not bigger than him. He was bigger than the moment.
Rads, what would you have said if we were looking at today's lineup back in December?
Oh gosh, yeah, we would have gone.
I mean, they were projected to be one of the most explosive offenses in Major League Baseball.
I would have said, who the hell's Sam Haggerty, right? I would have said Alejandro Osuna, the kid. You and I interviewed the kid last year when he was minor league player of the year. I said, Osuna made it up already? Wasn't he a double-A or single-A guy? I mean, we would have never expected this, and certainly never expected Adolis and Marcus Semien to be at the bottom of this batting order. But again, there is your credit to Bruce Bochy. And I look, we're following all of you guys on Twitter, and we're watching your chat, and we keep an eye on what you're thinking and what you're saying and what you're feeling, and we feel many of the same things. But because of Bruce Bochy, Abs, you and I both know there's really no reason to panic, at least not yet.
Right. Because like I mentioned earlier, he's been here before, and he's probably going to be here again in his career at some point. It's just a long season. I mean, I'm not saying the wins and losses in May don't matter, because they absolutely do, but there are ebbs and flows to this team. They're just going through a tough time right now. You got to rally behind the guys. We see you in the chat. Getting Seager and Carter back is going to be crucial for the Rangers, and the bats have to wake up. I agree with you, Dan. But there is still quite some time to go in the season. You're really hoping that things shake up here soon. Even the All-Star break could be a really pivotal turning point. I wouldn't have even believed that Josh Smith would have been who he is now at this point in the season for the Rangers. I mean, he's, to me, the most valuable player for the team.
Yeah, he is, although he's had a rough road trip. He's 2 for 20 on the road trip. But again, everybody goes through stretches. And the reality is 2 for 20, if he had been 2 for 20 to start the season, we'd be like, oh my gosh, we'd notice it more. Until Dave said it today, I hadn't even really noticed that Smitty was, just quite that mired in something, but he'll get out of it. That's who he is.
Yeah. But Bruce Bochy's not scared to shake the lineup up.
No.
And if anybody can look Marcus Semien in the eye and say, hey man, I know you like leadoff, but we're going to put you towards the bottom, it is Bruce Bochy. That's why you have that veteran presence in there. 6th most winning manager of all time in MLB history. I mean, this guy knows he's going to go with a hot hand, and thank God he does. He did it during the World Series run, made some calls that people were like, what the heck? Why is Leclerc not closing out this game? And it was Josh Sborz, and ended up being one of the best moments in franchise history. And that's because Bruce Bochy is there and able to have those conversations. And, the guys respect it. The guys listen to it. This team's all aboard. They're just needing to find a way to win. The wins have been few and far between, but it's just a rough little patch. And I do have a good feeling about the homestand. I mean, the Rangers just play better at home.
There's no doubt. They've been much better at home than they have been on the road, obviously, so far this year, and especially on this road trip where they managed only 1 win. But they do like home cooking. And to your point about Voch and what he did and what the team did and what the coaching staff did in 2023, they're hoping that maybe Alejandro Osuna can have the kind of effect that a rookie who was probably called up before he should have been in 23 did when he was. That man was Evan Carter. We talk about him. We talk about the Osuna call-up. We talk about an update on some of the injured guys, and we get to it all next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. But first I go over here and check which one we're doing first. Shady Rays, my fave. Abs, you might not have seen it the other day on the show. I was telling everybody, and I don't have the Hurons out today, but next time you see me wear Shady Rays on the show, it'll be a new pair. I needed a new pair of sunglasses, and where did I go? Shady Rays. And the reason I did is because they're so good. And literally in the pool with my son and his gal the other day, and they were like, "Oh, we need some new sunglasses." I go, "Oh, try these on." I said, and they were like, "Oh my gosh!" And I said, "Guess what? You can get 35% off." And they're like, why? And I said, well, because you know me. And truthfully, as you all know, that's not true. It's because we're DLLS, and you can do that for 35% off those great sunglasses, polarized. Fantastic. And it's sunglass time of year in Texas. It's going to be sunny. I think we got a little rain coming for the next day or two.
Yeah.
And then after that, it'll be sunny till October. So get yourself some Shady Rays. Get 35% off. Go to shadyrays.com. Use the code DLLS for your happy shades.
Well, while you're saving money, Monarch is going to be your best friend because, Rads, I just moved to a new apartment. Let me tell you, it's pricey.
It is.
So it's important to be able to look that you're not wasting money. Do you know how many people have like renewing monthly subscriptions that they aren't even aware about?
Sure.
So tracking your finances is so important. You like to be in control of your finances because who doesn't like financial freedom? And then you can spend your extra money that you found with your canceled subscriptions on a Rangers ticket and watch them at home. Because Jacob deGrom will be pitching for Memorial Day. And yeah, you want to think about your monthly spending. Use Monarch. Jeff actually said that his wife is kind of the financial leader over there. So it's a financial tool that people love. Join over 1 million households. It's a top-rated finance app, and they can get you squared away. So get control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code DLLS, monarchmoney.com, and it will give you 50% off of your first year with the code DLLS. That's a really good deal.
Very good deal. And before we get to all the moves that were made in prior to today's game, just a couple more things about the game today itself as we try to wrap up the highlights and the initial thoughts. Patrick Corbin, once again, does everything you could possibly ask him to do. Again, this is a guy who, so few believed in him that he didn't have a job through spring training. And the Rangers, finally got in a bind and said, well, let's try this. And it has worked out so far above and beyond expectations. It's been fantastic. He did it again today. He allows the 3 runs, all earned, but only 5 hits for him. And he struck out 6. He kind of ran out of gas, I thought, Abs. And Mike Bassick was talking about that. He noticed it. And as a former pitcher, he will. He noticed it, when Corbin got gassed a little bit in that 6th inning, gave up the leadoff homer, then gave up the double. And it was time. It was time to get him out of there. Boats recognized it. They did that. But you just can't quibble or complain about what this man has done in, being pressed into service. Mike reminded, I forgot about this, but, or maybe Dave said it, because of other injuries, I think maybe it was the blister that Jack Leiter got. They had to bring Corbin in sooner than even he or they expected. So great job by Patrick Corbin again today.
He's been a really pleasant surprise. In his 8 starts, he's only allowed 3 earned runs or less in all of them. I mean, that's just something you can hang your hat on. The Rangers have hung their hat on the starting pitching. I mean, one of the best rotations in baseball. But Patrick Corbin, what he's done has been impressive. He has the 5th largest drop in ERA in Major League Baseball among starting pitchers with 40-plus innings or more over the last 2 seasons. So he took his ERA from a 5.6 to a 3.5. And that's just not easy to do. I'd like to go have a conversation with him and talk about his offseason because he's made remarkable changes. And the most important thing is they've been really consistent.
Yeah, the amazing thing is what he'll tell you too. One of the things he'll tell you is it's about being on a good team, and that still really is the head-scratching, confounding, and amazing thing about this team. It's a good team. He knows it. Pretty much everybody knows it. Obviously, they haven't hit. Are they going to hit? I don't know. I mean, we're at the 1/3 mark of the season, and at some point, you worry and wonder, okay, is this just what they are? Now, I think, in fairness, you have got to wait and see what it does when Corey Seager's back. More important than any other player, Corey Seager is the spark to this offense, and guys follow him. So we'll certainly be talking about that. But the first thing we want to mention in this segment is the big news today, Abs, about Alejandro Osuna getting called up And the story was great. That down in AAA Round Rock, manager Doug Davis says he needs to see him in his office, and whoever relays the message tells Osuna, "You're in trouble, man. He's pissed. I don't know what's wrong, man." And Osuna's like, "Oh no, I don't want to go into this meeting." And then they let him know within that he was being called up. And look, he was
evil joke.
It was, but it's typical. They always do something creative down there. And he was the star, Osuna, the absolute star of spring training, 15 for 35. He was a guy everybody was clamoring for to make the club out of spring training. Wisely, the Rangers wanted to let him develop a little bit longer. They did. He's been raking at AAA, so good for him, man. He's called up, and I love that 7-pitch walk that he worked in his very first at bat. That look, it helped. It gave everybody more looks at what Martin was doing at that point.
Right, Osuna. First of all, fantastic human being. He was so kind when we talked to him.
He was, yeah.
Yes, ma'am, and no, sir, the whole time. But he's the number 7 ranked prospect for the Rangers, and he was the 2024 Rangers Minor League Player of the Year. So you knew that this was a possibility at this point in the season. Probably not. But he handled it incredibly well today. He told the media before the game he was just going to try to enjoy it all. He's not scared to ask questions, and that's helped him a lot. He has the confidence to be here. He's just trying to help the team win and do everything the right way, score runs for the guys, and just try to get them some wins. But he's also a defensive unit. We saw today he made a fantastic catch. And Wyatt Langford, playing the center field for the first time this season. Osuna is more of a true lefty hitting center field. He's 22 as well. I mean, we've got some young fellas on this team. He's been around the game for a long time. His brother's former all-star closer, Roberto, he called him, was one of the first people to call him. But yeah, he's been raking in the minor league. Minor League Player of the Year last year, 292, 18 home runs, 17 stolen bases across high A, double A in 2024. So the Rangers have a good player in him. And what I loved about him was that he was not scared of a big moment. He had the opportunity to do something heroic and no doubt historic for him. He'll get other opportunities too, but in his first game, he looked ready.
He absolutely did. And that catch you're talking about, so clutch, because it allowed the Rangers to hold on to a lead. It was in the 5th inning, and the White Sox at that point had a couple of runners on, and they were threatening. And he robs Chase Mydroth, who had hit a kind of a looping line drive out in there into left field. It looked like it was going to fall in no man's land. At least one, maybe both would have scored. And he dove for it and caught it. And it was just a fantastic defensive play. And look, that thing that you mentioned about Wyatt Langford being in center is huge. Because Wyatt Langford, many of us have been clamoring for him to be a center fielder. He wants to be a center fielder. We get that it's such a demanding position. It might be better for his long-term longevity and his health to be on one of the corners, which of course for now is going to be left field for him. For him. But the reality is he's capable of playing center field, but so is Osuna. I mean, Osuna's only been a right fielder. A center fielder. He hasn't played left much at all. And so he wasn't even sure when he made that throw home, kind of went up the line a little bit. And Mike Bassick made a great point, and he said, I don't know if he's, familiar with that throw. It's a different throw, especially for a left-hander from left field than it is certainly from center or even from right. So, that's probably one of the reasons, though. It's a slightly less intense and a less focused position for your first major league game. Although, as we always say, the ball finds you. And it did. And then he found it. So just a really nice debut by him. It would have been lovely to get that storybook moment in the 9th inning, but all's well that ends well.
Today he got the storybook moment because he got called up,
That's right.
Dan's calling it the catch of the game. I agree, Dan. But no, I mean, the Rangers knew what they were getting. You know, he's rated the best defensive outfielder and the best defensive arm in the organization by Baseball America. He's polished center fielder, but he's able to play in the corner spots as well. We can talk about the transactions that allowed this to happen because the Rangers actually played with 25 today instead of 26. And Josh Peterson, an update, fractured right hand in Saturday's game. He was hit by a pitch, out for 6 weeks, which caused Kevin Pillar to be DFA'd to make room on the 40-man for Osuna. So just a few transactions there. Corey Seager, they kind of hinted today Corey Seager could be back pretty soon. I mean,
yeah, no, there's no question.
Doesn't they sound crazy?
The thought is that Corey Seager could be back this homestand, and Boats was saying today, perhaps sooner rather than later. I mean, I think the implication from Boats today was maybe even as soon as tomorrow. He's pretty much done everything. He did pretty much all of it yesterday. He ran the bases. He hit. He played, in the field. So he's kind of testing that hamstring in every way. Now, how did it respond today? Not exactly sure. That will help determine whether or not they do bring him back sooner rather than later. But I think it's pretty sure that he will be coming back during the homestand. Whether it's as soon as tomorrow's Memorial Day game or not remains to be seen. So that's great news. Evan Carter is coming back. Probably, soon, maybe as soon as the homestand, right? And the news that came from yesterday on Evan Carter is so good. It's one of those little nuggets, Abs, that you might otherwise miss, but the reality is Evan Carter kind of complained about his quad hurting him, and they determined. By using abundance of caution, they sent him to have an MRI on that quad, and it's a grade 2 strain. And the reality is you can tear the quad from the bone from a grade 2 strain much more easily than you can a 1. And he's like, it really didn't even hurt. It was just more discomfort. That's how quads go. But the reality is, he said, you know what, after a day or two, I better tell him and see what happens. Good thing he did, or he'd be out, because if you tear that thing from the bone, it's a much longer recovery. So that's really good news on the Evan Carter front. He came back up this year. When he was here before he got hurt, he was doing a great job too. Maybe not hitting as much as we saw in 23, but working pitchers and it worked himself back up into the top of the batting order.
Right. I can see how he's matured as a player because, he said previously he's tried to play through injuries, and then that ends up putting him in a worse situation. I know the quad thing firsthand. My dad pulled both of his simultaneously off the bone. Worst surgery, worst recovery, took forever.
Oh, wow.
Grateful he can stand and walk and work out and do all the things, but it's a very, very serious injury. So the fact that Evan Carter was like, I think if he were younger and maybe in his first year and felt like he needed to prove himself still, he would have probably played through it, and then we would have been looking at a very long-term thing. But the fact that he's, said, I want to take this for what it is right now, that's a good sign to me. Maybe Corey Seager's kind of helped him see, hey, if you get with it early, if you treat it how it should be right away, you're not going to be out as long. And, we're interested to see. But again, Seager could be back as early as Monday. We saw video of him taking live batting practice, infield drills for the first time since going on the IL. So it could be soon. But this team is a different team with Corey Seager in the lineup. And sounds duh to say because he's Corey Seager, 2-time World Series MVP in both leagues. I mean,
yeah. And the reality is what they do want to do with Corey, he's not going to go out on a rehab assignment. So what could delay this a day or two is they want to give him the opportunity to it'll be what they call those sim games, right? Simulated games. Give him the opportunity to do the ups and downs. Give him the opportunity to be in game type situations. And that certainly is the final step for Corey Seager. But what he's proven really every season, certainly in 23, he came back from a couple of shorter stints on the injured list that year, and each time he came back as if he hadn't missed a game. He just came back, like Boat said in those days, he falls out of bed hitting baseballs, hitting line drives.
It's like riding a bike.
It is.
Sure. I mean, not for me. I wouldn't even know where to begin. One thing I hope we get no update about is Josh Young. I got a little nervous in the night when he got hit by the pitch. Seems like it was kind of on the hand here, and just with his list of injuries and odd, unfortunate situations that happen, you're hoping that was not going to be anything else.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that. Let's talk about the homestand. Let's get you set for that. More coming up as we continue to wrap up a 5-4 victory by the Rangers over the White Sox today. It's all coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And it's time to remind you about Empire Today. It's a really good time to reach out to Empire Today. You got to get that fresh, that new look for the summertime. You're going to have people over. You're going to be hanging out a lot more. Wherever you need flooring, make sure you go to Empire Today. They will give you the home field advantage that the Rangers will certainly have when they come home. They've proven all year they have a home field advantage there. We want you to have one too. And there's an easy way to get it. Simply go to Empire Today, because they've got the greatest products. They've got the best people putting those products to your floor. And they've got the guarantees and the warranties, the experience, and this technology that is just so cool. You take a picture of the room with your furniture, your blinds, your drapes, whatever's in there, and they can show you what that room would look like with any number of various flooring options. So anyway, go to empiretoday.com, use the code DLLS, get $350 off your flooring purchase.
And while you are on the internet, if you are trying to find a suitable candidate, you need to head over to LinkedIn. I imagine that it's a difficult process to go through the hiring process. Do you know how many people lie on their resumes now, Rads?
Everybody. It's insane. So LinkedIn kind of takes the guesswork out. You can't really lie because they do some sort of background check. It all has to check out, but it's the one-stop shop for hiring the best candidates. You just post a job. LinkedIn has a new feature that you can write out a job description. You can kind of weed out the people that shouldn't even really be applying, and you're put in the right pool of correct candidates for you. So you post a job, or you can pay to promote it. You can get 3 times more visibility if you do pay. You can qualified candidates, because at the end of the day, you want the right people working for you. And this takes all the guesswork out of that process. So share with your network, post your job. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn to run more efficiently. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/Rangers. And terms and conditions will apply, but you will get a fantastic candidate in front of you. I say everybody, but Abs and I both sent our resumes to ALLCITY about a year ago. We didn't lie. There was no lies on our resumes. That's why we're here. That's why we're here.
Having a heck of a time.
Yeah. So one thing I did want to say about the Josh thing, Young, when he got hit, his look was more disgust than pain, which is great. And look, he worked all off season and all spring to figure out what was the best pad for here. I swear to God. And it seemed like Dave and Mike were a little mixed about where they thought it hit him. I thought, like you, I thought it hit him right on that pad. Yeah. But that pad's, made out of, well insulated and soft steel, or I don't even know what, but I don't think he felt it. Thank goodness. Right. And we know it didn't do any damage. And that was great, because as soon as he gets to first base, man, he's got to get on his horse and get to third. And I'm watching him run. And, when Jock ran yesterday after getting hit in the hand, that's when he really noticed that he was having some problems. He heard a clicking sound in his hand, and he's like, that ain't good. And I'll tell you what, all you need, because Jock Peterson's a tough guy, all you need, and baseball players, this from your dad, Abs, baseball players they don't want to give the opponent any sort of an advantage. So when a ball hits them, it's like a unwritten rule. It's the kind of thing that can get you fined in a kangaroo court if you show any pain at all, right? You're just like, you hit me, no big deal. You're dying, right? You got a huge bruise, but you get down to first base, no problem. Well, when you saw Jock hit the ground yesterday, you know how much it hurts to get hit in that spot. And certainly if you ever have, by anything, run it into the corner of a table or anything, I mean, it is so painful. And credit to Jock for getting up and going to first base and running the bases. But also, it was just clear he's gonna have to be out, and sadly, he's gonna have to be out for 6 weeks. The reality is, he too had begun to break through. He wasn't hitting yet again, but he was sure getting on base a lot more. He was walking a lot more. He was hitting more. He wasn't hitting for power yet, but he was I think making strides, making progress. And as he said after the game yesterday, at least in a situation I was in, I have the opportunity to help the team. Now he doesn't, other than being a good teammate, which he will be, and he'll continue to support the guys.
Yeah, Jock's got a good head on his shoulders, and we'll be able to talk to him in the homestand and get a lot other information out about him. But yeah, they're saying in the chat, gonna miss Jock for a while, but maybe you're not happy about an injury, of course, but maybe it is a mental reset that could benefit him later on in the season. He's going back to basics and square one and just ironing out a few kinks there. So in the long run, this could pull Jock out of a slump that he's been in since the season started. And, like you've said, I mean, he's getting on base more, but at the end of the day, you paid that guy a lot of money, not just to get on base. I mean, you thought you were getting a really heavy hitter there. So the Rangers are going to have some flexibility with that DH position. When Jock originally was brought to the team, the Rangers had used the DH position as more of a rehab or an off day or some sort of a rest situation for guys. So they have that flexibility back now, and they're able to play with the DH position a little bit. So maybe it could be good, give Semien the reps at the plate and maybe sit him out a day there, or Seager. With Seager coming back, I think it's a good option there. So, it's unfortunate. The Rangers have just had a lot of unfortunate injuries, and the one that makes me sick to my stomach still is Chris Martin. I mean, you knew the second that happened that it was not good news. So, it's not great. Could be worse. But at the end of the day, this could be a really good reset for Jock.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And look, the Rangers have plenty of options at that DH position. You mentioned Corey. Now, he's not going to want to be in that spot for a long time. But when he's coming back, they can utilize that spot to get him off of his feet for a day, especially like a day game after a night game type situation. You could see Corey in that spot a lot. The other thing is, it's an opportunity because once Corey's back, and again, depending on who else might be injured, there's not necessarily a spot for Josh Smith. Well, Josh Smith has done such a great job at the plate, minus this road trip, that, Josh could be the DH. Obviously, you've got, and Boch has done this many times, you've got Kyle Higashioka and Jonah Heim, either one of which can and has played that DH role, and that takes the pressure off of the other one from doing that 9 innings of catching every day. So there's plenty of options there. It's not just one. And look, the reality is with Jock, he was only in the DH role against right-handed pitching. Granted, that's what you face most of the time, but he was only in there against righties anyway. So it's not to say they won't miss him, but it is to say there are plenty of options they can use to replace him. Now, they've got the Toronto Blue Jays and the St. Louis Cardinals coming up on the homestand. And the Blue Jays are really an interesting study because they are a team that you just weren't sure where they were headed. They tried to get everybody. They were obviously in pretty deep on Soto. I think they thought that they were going to win a couple of different sweepstakes over the last course of the last year. I think they thought they were going to win the Ohtani sweepstakes. I think they thought they were going to win the Sasaki sweepstakes. They were in on Soto. They did ultimately sign Vlad Jr. to a long-term contract, so that was good for them. And yet here they sit, and I wonder if their fans are as disappointed. Probably not quite as disappointed as Rangers fans, because the Rangers did win the World Series just 2 years ago. But they're 2 games under 500. Abs. The Blue Jays are heading to Texas, just like the Rangers. I think they're 25-27. The Rangers 26-28.
Yeah, it's going to be a homecoming for Max Scherzer. Well, sorry, excuse me, injured list, but nothing new to Rangers fans there with Max Scherzer on that injured list. I think we had in the chat. Somebody said they miss Scherzer, or it's too bad Max Scherzer is shelved. I think Rangers fans were hopeful to, maybe have him there, but tale as old as time.
Yeah, well, the way he had pitched, recently, would be nice to have him there so you could knock him around a little bit. He's not on our team anymore, but the reality is, that all that said, they're in a very tough division in the American League East. And so, that's a tough place to win anytime. And so, but they find themselves 2 games under 500. It's another one of those series. And this didn't work out as well as we thought it would in the New York series, but it wasn't the fault of these men. It's another one of those series where you get DeGrom and Eovaldi in back-to-back games to start this homestand. And obviously that happened in the final 2 games of that New York series, and the Rangers lost both of those. But as we said, neither one of those were the fault of the starting pitcher. In fact, the series finale, if you remember, in New York was a 1-0 loss. I mean, Nathan Eovaldi pitched great. The Rangers just couldn't do anything offensively. Jacob deGrom pitched 7 innings in his game in New York as well, and only allowed a couple of runs. So it'll be great to have those guys to not only start the homestand, but maybe get the series started, Abs, off on the right foot.
DeGrom Day is normally always a great day, and he's going for his 11th start of the season. I am happy as heck to say that number. I mean, that's getting up there. DeGrom's looking good. It's going to be one heck of a pitching duel. I agree. The Rangers need to have an answer for Vladdy. I mean, he got paid for a reason. He has a 389 on-base percentage over his 24-game on-base streak. It's the longest active streak in Major League Baseball. So one shy of his career best, 25 games. So he's that guy, has been that guy, will continue to be that guy for quite some time for the Blue Jays because they just signed a large deal. But, Vladdy's going to be somebody they need to get an answer. They need to shut down. As you probably can't shut him down, but probably need to throw him off a little bit. And I have a feeling that Jacob deGrom might be the one to end that on-base streak.
Yeah, and Nathan Eovaldi would be a nice guy to come back if it didn't happen with DeGrom. But I think you're right. I mean, look, great hitters can get fooled by great pitchers too. And so, Vladdy hasn't, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he probably hasn't seen Jacob deGrom just a whole lot. So it'll be interesting to see that matchup. But as Dan said, the Kevin Gausman matchup against Jacob deGrom is one of those pitchers duels things. And it is odd how often you end up, middle of the season like this, ace against ace. It's even more strange in some ways that you end up with the Rangers' 5th starter. I know deGrom isn't a 5th starter, but he was 5th in the rotation this year, and he ends up pitching against the ace of that Blue Jays staff. But it'll be a good series. It'll be the kind of series, though, that the Rangers can win. This team is not coming in. Toronto, on fire. They're not coming in as one of the best teams in the American League, or even one of the best teams in the American League East. And frankly, the Rangers need some home cooking, and they need an opportunity to begin to feel better about themselves. And frankly, they got to figure out a way to start hitting.
I agree, but hey, if you have to sacrifice offense or for the baseball gods and the sports gods in general. The Stars are in the playoffs right now, Western Conference Finals. I'm taking a look at the score. I've got it on my TV screen. Rads, it was just not a lucky day for Dallas fans in general because it's 5-1.
Oh man.
And guess what?
Yeah.
It's the Oilers. So
yeah, I was flipping back and forth upstairs, but I don't have it on down here. So yeah, that's not great for the Stars. Edmonton's tough though, and yeah, so we'll keep our fingers crossed for Game 4. I mean, let's be honest. It's 5-1's a final or not yet?
Not yet. 6 minutes,
Okay.
25 seconds. But I mean, they came back and they scored 5 goals in what was it? The Game 1 the other day. So
Yeah, they did.
It's not doable, but
Yeah,
it's
not unheard of. Not unheard of. So yeah, we've got more coming up as we get to our cleanup segment and talk lots more about things happening in the world of Major League Baseball today. But first, we've got this on the DLLS Rangers podcast. So, Abs, I rolled the dice. I went with the Hello Win Column shirt.
Is that a lucky? Are we calling that a lucky shirt right now?
Yes, we are, because I did that before the game, and I said I'm just going to do it. I don't always do it. I kind of want to be like, but you know what? They won in comeback fashion today, so I don't have to burn it. And maybe, yeah, to your point, maybe I start wearing it on game days and see if it can bring them the luck that they need. Like I told Jeff the other day, if my shirt has anything to do with them winning, they need to pay me a lot more money. If I influence these games, Abs, because the people who do influence them make a lot more money than we do. But that said, I love the merchandise. I know Abby does too. Jeff does too. Jeff's got more shirts, and I think I think he's got more shirts than all the hosts combined. So anyway, get yourself some merchandise at store.allcitynetwork.com, or get yourself one of these free T-shirts. One of these T-shirts for free if you become a diehard, Abs, today.
Go ahead and become a diehard. We were talking about saving money. If you think about it, you get a free T-shirt when you become a diehard. And then you do the math and you're spending like $39 on the membership. We do have some deals every now and again. So if you want to save for a smart price, you can do that. But the membership, I mean, it's your one-stop shop. If you want to sound like the most informed Dallas sports fan, Stars, Mavericks, we just have a Wings podcast. Wings are going to be good this year. WNBA is a thing, and it's alive and well and thriving. So we're excited to bring that on to the channel as well. But we've got some of the best in the business covering these sports on a daily basis. Shows, I mean, we've had such a run since we've started this company a couple months ago. And who could have predicted the Luka trade? How our team covered that's been amazing. Cowboys, everyone says, oh, this is their year. Maybe it's their year. So if you want to be the first to know all things Dallas sports, go ahead and become a diehard.
Yeah, it's a great chance. It's a great idea. We didn't mention the Cardinals or much about them in the previous segment, Abs, but that is a team I think that surprised everybody. I mean, there was a chance that they were going to bust it right down to the studs. Yeah. And all of a sudden you look at the standings in the National League Central, which is a pretty good division. They're ahead of Milwaukee. They're ahead of Cincinnati. Of course, Pittsburgh's in that division, but trail only the Cubs, and they trail the Cubs only by 2 games. Right now, the Cardinals are 7 games over 500, and they're playing pretty well. So that is not any sort of a gimme. That's not a 2-foot putt when they come calling next weekend.
No, the Rangers do have a tough little schedule here, but like we said, they play better at home. I think also something about teams I like, I feel like they rise to the occasion, which is a fantastic thing. Like the Rangers played great against the Tigers. I mean, that was not a series you were expecting to win. But then to do this against the White Sox, it's interesting. So anyway, good competition, I think, brings out the best competition in you. So I'm excited for the homestand. I think it's going to be we got Dan saying the Cardinals were supposed to be sellers, but they kicked it up.
Yeah,
and they're playing well. And they have that is correct. You know what? We'll circle back really quick. Nobody mentioned Will Venable from the series.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like big moment for Will Venable playing against his former team. And this is first time as a manager. He didn't get the sweep, but he did pretty well.
He's got to feel great about it, and ultimately, I think even Boch will feel great for him, right? Yeah. Maybe not right now. The fact that the Rangers won today allows Boch to feel a little bit better for what Will did this weekend and what he's done already so far this season. I mean, they are part of the reason they're not the sort of laughing stock they were last year is because of the Colorado Rockies, who are on pace to surpass their worst. So, as we said, the White Sox had the worst record in Major League history last year. The Rockies right now, Abs, are on pace to surpass that by 12 games. 12 games. So that's ugly. That's really ugly.
My dad always says if you're going to be a Bear, be a Grizzly. I'm guessing, are they using that logic there?
Yeah, they're Grizzlies. There's no doubt about that.
That ain't a good one.
Yeah, they're still not to 10 wins. They're at 9-43. That's unbelievable. So anyway, a couple of things from Major League Baseball today that were fantastic. First, O'Neal Cruz hit the hardest hit ball in the StatCast era. And we can't show you, as we've been telling you, we're not allowed to show you the highlights, but if you haven't seen it yet, look it up on one of the services and watch that ball leave the yard. They were home in Pittsburgh. And, it's not unheard of for guys to knock a ball into the river. And he did. But it was the speed with which it got out of there. And listen to the announcers. They're just like, oh, that one, if that's fair, it's gone. Oh, it's fair, it's gone. I mean, it was out of there in no time. 122.6 miles an hour, Abs, off the bat.
Yeah, I think he, you know who he beat to do it?
Himself?
Stanton.
Oh, yeah. No, and actually, I saw somebody say, well, maybe it was 122.4. I saw somebody say online he actually had a single. He had a single that he hit that hard. But those are the two. And you're right. And the next one next to him is Stanton. So unbelievable power. And it was, again, look at the swing. It was such an easy swing. I mean, that left-handed swing always looks so easy anyway, but it was just like he was, just flicking one out there, and it went 122 plus. So,
and to put that in perspective, Jake Berger hit the hardest one for the Rangers today.
Yeah, at 114.
So it up a little bit more.
Yeah. So that was fantastic, but otherworldly Abs was.
I was going to say.
Tarek Skubal did.
Can I set the scene though? Because
Please.
I think some people are going to be like, "Oh, well, this is a good game." This was a revenge, redeem yourself game for Tarek Skubal alone because he faced the Guardians for the first time since the ALDS in Game 5 that ended the Tigers' season. So he was scoreless in his first 18 innings in the postseason career, and he gave up 5 runs in that final outing, which cost them, it was the Lane Thomas grand slam, ended the Tigers' season. So he had some redemption to do within himself. I'll set the scene there. But what he did today was incredible. We had in the chat, we were talking about Patrick Corbin, what he's done this season. And they said, well, Mike Maddox is the pitching guru and the pitching coach guru. I completely agree. But when your brother's Greg Maddox, you learn a thing or two. What Tarek Skubal did today was great for the game of baseball. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, he threw a Maddox. And by the way, it was his very first complete game. And this surprised me. I mean, I know nobody throws complete games anymore, but I was surprised that it was his very first complete game. I heard AJ Hinch after the game, and he was talking about he was lobbying, man. He wanted this so bad.
Yeah.
And I think that, Abs, is to your point about the redemption factor in this game. But there's just so few pitchers who even want that anymore, and so few managers who will allow them that opportunity, right? It's just not the wise thing to do. And then again, speaking of the fastest, bestest, whatever in the StatCast era, he struck out the final hitter he faced on a 102.6 mile per hour fastball. It's the fastest strikeout to end a game in the StatCast era. And I realize that's only since 2008, but I promise you, the 5 guys that could throw over 100 before 2008 didn't strike somebody out.
You weren't hitting that. Yeah.
No.
It's the hardest of his career as well.
Yeah.
9 innings pitched, 2 hits, 0 runs, 0 walks, 13 K, 94 pitches, 72 strikeouts, 26 swings and misses. The crazy thing about Tarik Skubal, this is what separates the good from the great. Tarik Skubal literally won the Cy Young. And it's almost like he's on a redemption tour. And he is so mad because they didn't make it to the World Series and win, obviously. So just to go to show that you had the best season of your career, no doubt, and in baseball, and you're still not pleased. And you're going out to a game that, ended your season last year, and you're doing this to them. I mean, you're a competitor through and through, and that showcased what these Tigers are about. I keep a close eye on the Tigers, just like Rads. My dad actually just covered he flew in to Dallas from St. Louis. He was on that series. So the Tigers are a fun team to watch. We cover the Rangers, and we're very locked into the Rangers, but we are 2 Detroit natives somewhat.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned,
cool.
and you knew I was at that Rangers Tigers series. So, and it was really fun for me because I do, and my son was with me, and he does root for the Rangers in those situations. So just in those, I mean, I root for the Tigers all other times, but yeah, we were there. I was there for the second 2 games, but the DeGrom game, the 10-3 game, that was fantastic. But yeah, and your point is just so well taken about all the things that they are doing and who he is, right?
Yeah.
So that's the guy I want on my team. I want a guy who is angry all season long because the team didn't win. It's a team game. Well, wait, you won the Cy Young. I don't care.
You don't care.
The team didn't win. That's the guy. Anybody who plays a team sport should want on their team. And they do. Anybody who does wants a guy like that. And that's who Tarik Skubal is. So that's just fantastic. And, he's just he's having an unbelievable year again. And away they go. Interesting note in the American League West right now, Abs, is that we were talking about, where everybody stands and how we were happy for Will Venable. The other guy that we're all happy for whenever we aren't playing against that team,
Mr. Washington.
Wash. And right now, the Angels are still actually ahead of the Rangers. We're not happy about that part, but we are happy for Wash. Right now, the Angels sit at 25-26. They're only 1 game under 500. And a week and a half ago, there were calls on various social media outlets and everything or it was like the list of who's going to be the possible replacements for Ron Washington. And Wash has got these guys playing right now. And that's all right now still without Mike Trout. And so get Trout back and see what they can do. But fantastic for Wash. Feel great for him. He'll probably survive this, and he will get them to be one of the competitive teams in the American League West.
If anybody can kick a butt and put it into motion, it is Ron Washington. But yeah, no, you're happy for Wash. I mean, it's unfortunate for Rangers fans that it is in the AL West. I mean, you would love if it were like a National League team, because then you're not even worried about it. But no, I mean, you're happy to see good guys do well. Ron Washington, one of the best. The West is going to be pretty tight. Rads, we had a discussion about the AL West and who's going to finish the season first place, and a lot of people said the Mariners. I mean, they're leading right now, but at the end of the day, the Mariners are going to Mariner. And also, it's 6-1 with 24 seconds left.
Yeah, and to your point, the Mariners would be the pick right now. They're 6 games over 500. They're in first place, but nobody's really distanced themselves in that division yet. Nobody's really run out. The Rangers should have. They've had good enough pitching. If they'd gotten any offense at all, the Rangers would be 10 or 15 games over 500, and they'd be way out in first place. So if that comes back, they'll get there, and we sure hope it does. Maybe it starts tomorrow. We get the day off for the holiday, although we'll probably be at the ballpark, but not on your airwaves tomorrow. We're back Tuesday with another edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast. We thank Abs for hanging out with us today, and we'll be seeing her more and more on the show. We appreciate that. We appreciate you. We'll see you Tuesday on another edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.